In problem 1, we're going to analyze the classical model. The consumer wealth is 16.0975. Expected future income is $9.28 trillion. The real rate of interest is 6.25%. Tax revenue is $3.05 trillion. Investment expenditure is $3.6 trillion. Government expenditure is $3.41 trillion. Because government expenditure is greater than tax revenue, we have a budget deficit about $300 billion. Exports equal $2.69 trillion, the MPC is 0.75, and the NPM equals 0.25. For the long-run production function, we're going to assume the long-run production factors, capital, resources, technology, and the labor force, are all fixed at $4 trillion, $6.25 trillion, 0.216%, and 144 million workers. The economy's short-run production factors, the aggregate nominal wage rate, is $3.19 thousand per month. Prices of other production inputs is equal to $1.17 thousand per month. The supply side tax rate is 15.7%, and those are all fixed. Now, in the Excel spreadsheet that you can download from howsnare.com, it's aggregate market model 2. When you click on that, you'll open up something that looks like this. Now, I've already entered the values for wealth, expected future income, exports, investment expenditures, government expenditure, the real rate of interest, taxes. I've already entered all these numbers in from Cengage now. Both the demand factors, long-run production factors, and the short-run production factors. All these numbers have been entered into the Excel spreadsheet. The potential GDP is 12.960. And the way we calculate that is we take the percent of knowledge available in the universe known to humans. We multiply that by the square root of the value of capital, the value of resources, and the size of the labor force. So when we do that calculation, we get 12.960. And we're going to copy and paste this into Cengage now, right here. The short-run aggregate supply curve is given by the following equation. The slope is 0.500. We've already copied that into the spreadsheet right here. Actually, right here. The intercept of the short-run aggregate supply curve is 13.580. So we're going to paste that right here. And it was found by doing what? Well, we add the nominal wage rate, the supply side tax rate, the nominal price of other production inputs, and then we subtract off the slope times potential GDP. That's how we get the intercept for short-run aggregate supply. For aggregate demand, the slope is the NPS, so 0.25, plus the NPM. So 1 minus 0.75 is 0.25. 0.25 plus 0.25 is 0.5. The intercept is 26.540. The next part, we have to compute the equilibrium level of real GDP, equilibrium price level, and the output gap. So the initial GDP level is determined by the intersection of aggregate demand and short-run aggregate supply. And it just so happens that short-run aggregate supply and aggregate demand intersect at the long-run aggregate supply curve. So equilibrium GDP is equal to 12.96, which is potential GDP. So potential GDP and equilibrium GDP are the same in this case. When I plug 12.96 into either the supply curve or the demand curve, the price level is 20.06. 20.060. Recall that the potential GDP and equilibrium GDP are equal, so the gap between GDP and potential is 0. So in this particular case, the natural rate of unemployment and the unemployment rate are both equal to each other. In the short run of the classical model, aggregate demand and short run aggregate supply can intersect at a point that is on, to the right of, or to the left of long run aggregate supply. But over the long run, aggregate demand and short run aggregate supply intersect at a point that is on long run aggregate supply, which is the case here. So over the long run, what we see is short run aggregate supply, long run aggregate supply, and aggregate demand all meet at the same point. Now, why is that? In the classical model, all resource markets are assumed to have cleared. So unemployment is near its natural rate. Resources are being fully utilized. So this right here is the long run aggregate supply curve. This is the aggregate demand curve. And this right here is the short run aggregate supply curve. In part F, the diagram below shows the effect of fiscal stimulus on the classical model. Fiscal stimulus could be either an increase in government spending or a tax cut. So what happens in the classical model is when government cuts taxes or raises government expenditure, aggregate demand will shift from the long run equilibrium here to a new short run equilibrium here. And this short equilibrium is an inflationary gap. In an inflationary gap, mainstream economists will view unemployment as being too low. What do I mean by being too low? Well, the unemployment rate is less than the natural rate at this point. So the classical model concludes that in the short run, fiscal stimulus, tax cuts or increased government expenditure, raise the price level because the price level goes up from about $20,000 to about $22,000. Real GDP goes up too. Real GDP goes up from about 13 to about $15 trillion. Because unemployment equals a natural rate here, and unemployment is less than the natural rate here, the unemployment rate falls when tax cuts or more government expenditure are enacted by Congress and the President. Over the long run, however, what happens? Over the long run, when unemployment is below the natural rate, there's pressure on wages and the prices of production inputs to rise. That increases the marginal cost of production, so the short run aggregate supply curve shifts up to this red curve. And it shifts up to the red curve because at this point here, again, resource markets are clearing. So at this point, the natural rate of unemployment and the unemployment rate are again equal. So over the long run, the price level goes way up. Instead of the price level just going up to here, what happens is the price level adjusts up to here, and then over the long run returns to the long run aggregate supply curve. So you have a huge increase in the price level. So raises the price level. Fiscal policy, tax cuts, and increased government expenditure raise the price level. Now GDP starts out here, temporarily goes out here, but because there's this self-correcting mechanism embedded in the short run aggregate supply curve through wages and the prices of other production inputs, GDP ends up back at long run aggregate supply. So there's no change in GDP. Has no effect on GDP. Fiscal stimulus has no effect on GDP over the long run. And for that reason, it has no effect on unemployment. Unemployment is equal to the natural rate here, less than the natural rate here, equal to the natural rate here. So over the long run, from this point to that point, the price level goes up, there's no change in GDP, and because there's no change in GDP, there's no change in unemployment. Now I'm going to check my work and we should get everything correct. And it looks like we got everything correct in the problem.